Okay, we're officially live. I'm going to go ahead and zap out of that computer. I'm going to try and position myself so I'm talking more to you instead of away from you. Welcome to Moving Markets. My name is Jeffry Dunyon. I'm the owner and founder of Safe Option Strategies, and we're back after a while of being gone. We did a podcast on moving markets for a while. It's been at least 6 months ago, maybe a little bit more, and we're finally back. We gave it a hiatus for a little while. Tried to find a way to get a little bit better with scheduling, and I think we're where we want to be right now. So the time was right to get it going again. So let me tell you a little bit about this program and what we're going to do. Moving markets is all about analyzing what is causing the markets to move, and in the hope that whatever way the markets are moving, you can be better prepared for the next move. Whether the markets are moving up and there's good news supporting it, or whether the markets are dropping and going down and there's justification for it. Our goal is to help give you some insight as to why things are moving the way they're moving, and why you might want to position yourself in a certain way as it relates to the markets. A little bit of background. Safe Option Strategy has been around for a long time. We're a full-service investment education company, Safe Option Strategies. I founded Safe Option Strategies. It has been almost 15 years ago, with the idea in mind that we would give people a more complete education on how to trade stocks and options, that we would provide them with stock picks, that we would provide them with the ability to learn and grow and understand how to trade stocks and options effectively, safely. As the name implies, Safe Option Strategies. A large part of our focus at Safe Option Strategies is teaching you how to protect your investments. I've said it over and over to my students, my clients. I'll say it right now to any of you that are with me on this presentation. We believe that making money in the stock market is very easy. Learning how to not lose money in the stock market can be very difficult and can be challenging. And it may sound a little simplistic in nature, but it's really the key to everything that we do. Teaching people how to not lose money, teaching people how to protect the investments that they have, and then the opportunities for growth will come. And they'll come regularly, and they'll come. You'll have plenty of opportunity to make a lot of money in the market if you first learn how to protect your portfolio, protect your investments. So, yeah, if you want to check out and learn more about Safe Option Strategies, we're not this podcast that we do each day is not really designed to teach you strategies. It's not really designed to teach you the methods for protecting your portfolio that we focus so much on. But rather to give you this insight on what is causing the markets to move, how much trust you can put in it, what you might be able to do with your portfolio going forward based on what's causing these moves. And then if you want to check out Safe Option Strategies, by all means, go to safeoptionstrategies.com, or you can go to sostrades.com. The second URL is a little bit easier, and you basically end up at the same place. So if you want to learn more about what we do and how we do it and how to participate, again, safeoptionstrategies.com or sostrades.com. By the way, this episode of Moving Markets is being sponsored and brought to you by Hurley Investments, LLC. Hurley Investments is a full-service boutique brokerage run by a good friend of mine who uses the strategies and the methods that we teach at Safe Option Strategies to grow his clients' money and to help protect them. Kevin's got an amazing track record of profit for people as well as protecting portfolios. If learning how to do it yourself is not something that you're interested in, you'd rather have someone trade your money that will do it for a very low price and has a proven track record of protecting people from downturns in the market, check out Hurley Investments, LLC. And I believe it's just hurleyinvestments.com. I probably should check on that. Make certain I'm sending you the right place. But Kevin Hurley, the managing partner of Hurley Investments, is our sponsor for this episode of Moving Markets. All right, so let's recap what went on today. It's Monday, June the 8th. The Dow Jones Industrial Average I show it up 461.46 points at the close. Nice move up on the Dow Jones today, led in part by Boeing, but you've got certainly other companies besides Boeing that are making a big move today. We'll look at the Dow stocks, and in fact, let's pull up the Dow 30 right now, and we'll give you a couple of highlights of what happened today in the Dow Industrial list of stocks. You'd think it'd be easier to bring onto a computer screen in front of me to be able to tell you what the Dow did. All right, it was up. It was up largely on, you know what, I'm going to go to the trusty cell phone because I know I have that watch list right here on my cell phone of the Dow 30 stocks. The Dow today, to heck with it. I should have had that better prepared and been able to tell you better where those 30 stocks were. Suffice it to say, the Dow was up 461 points. I know early in the day, Boeing was having a big day to the upside. A lot of people are big on Boeing right now for this reason alone. Boeing got beat up severely over the 737 MAX jet, the crash of an Ethiopian airline, and forgive me, I'm forgetting the other airline that had a crash of a Boeing 737 jet. These crashes came about 6 months apart, and it became obvious that there was a problem with the software and some component of the 737. And this is a very popular plane. Boeing had a lot of orders. This was their latest, greatest technology. It wasn't the biggest plane they were putting out, but it was the latest, greatest technology coming out of Boeing, and a very high-tech plane. A lot of automation on this plane. So you know the story. Boeing took a major hit. Boeing went from being $445 a share. I think they got all the way down at one time to 120. Maybe Boeing got down to as low as $80 a share at one time. They took a major hit in terms of how far that stock went down. Just recently, they've been down under 100 shares. So even after recovering a little bit, Boeing has been down as low as $100 a share and below. I think they got below 90 back in the middle part of March when we were at the very bottom line of where the pandemic took us. But Boeing is coming back as economies begin to reopen, as people start to come back to work. Boeing is going to absolutely rock it, and I don't mean any silly pun by that. People are recognizing that Boeing is going to be a great stock to own, and they've had a massive jump just in less than 1 month. They've gone from 120 to finishing a little over 230 a share today. That was a large part of why the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up today. Boeing currently trades, well, they finished today at $230 a share. For a long time, Boeing was the heaviest weighted stock in the Dow Jones, meaning their most expensive price stock in the Dow Jones. Therefore, the index could be really up high or really down low just based on what Boeing alone was doing. They fell out of that top spot for some time, kind of went back and forth between United Health, Apple, a couple other companies that were up there selling a little bit higher. I think Boeing may be back on top now in terms of the heaviest weighted Dow component. So it's just, I tell you, people that stuck with Boeing through the downtrend and have come back to Boeing or just stayed in it and rode it out are really pleased. So that had a lot to do with why the Dow is up. But there's another reason that the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up. And just for comparison's sake, it wasn't just the Dow Jones. The NASDAQ was up 104 points today. The S&P up 110, or excuse me, 35, 1.10%. I'm looking at dollars and percentage here. So all three of the indexes, the Dow Jones had over 1.5% to the upside today. The NASDAQ up just over 1%, and the S&P up about 1.10%. But the other big news is this: New York City is getting back to work. Phase 1 of people going back to work in New York began in earnest today, and we have seen, if you've watched the recovery that's taken place since the middle of March, we had middle of February to middle of March, the steepest fastest, deepest sell-off in U.S. market history. Now, deepest in terms of how fast it took place, deepest in terms of that period of time. Certainly during the Great Depression, the Dow sold off more than that. I think World War II, there were some issues. The recession of 2008, the Dow and then the other indexes sold off more than the 35% they dropped back in February, but they never went down 35% as fast as they did in this most recent drop. A lot of people don't remember this, and I was pretty young at the time, but I do remember it. The Dow Jones lost over 20% in one day on what is famously referred to now as Black Monday, 1987, October 19th, 1987. What a lot of people don't realize is that before the month of October was over in that year, the Dow Jones was actually positive for the month. So from where it started at the beginning of the month, even giving up 20%, right smack dab in the middle of the month, it came back and actually finished positive on the month. But we've never seen anything like this. We've never seen anything to the tune of a 35% drop in that short a period of time. Well, as of the close today, the NASDAQ is at new all-time highs. Not just the highest they've been since they started to sell off in mid-February, but new all-time highs. The NASDAQ closed at, the NASDAQ Composite Index closed at 9,924.75. That is the highest close the NASDAQ Composite Index has ever finished at. By comparison, the Dow Jones Industrial Average finished above 27,500. They've got about 2,000 more points to go up before they're back to all-time highs, but they have recovered nearly 45% since the drop and where it peaked out or bottomed out in mid-April. So the Dow has come roaring back 6 days in a row now that Dow has been up, and likewise the S&P. Let me bring it's on a screen that you can't see. It's right in front of me, but the S&P closing today just a little bit below. Closing today at 32.32, a little bit below 32.50, and they've got a little ways to go. They've got a couple hundred more points, 150 more points or so, to be back at their all-time high. It is feasible that before the month of June is over, these other two indexes, the Dow and the S&P, could be back above their all-time highs. Now, again, going to what's moving the markets today, it really is people going back to work. That's the news that's moving it. You can point to other things. You can point to some political stuff. You can point to drug manufacturers getting closer to a vaccine for the COVID-19 virus. You can look at some individual companies like Boeing and see how they're moving up strong and what that's doing. The Fed is going to report. This coming Wednesday. They're meeting Tuesday and Wednesday, so tomorrow and Wednesday, and they're going to talk about whether or not it's time to raise interest rates or lower interest rates. Interest rates are at zero. There's no expectation that the Fed's going to go into negative. There's no expectation that the Fed's going to raise rates, but the Fed could still move the markets later this week with what they say, with what Jerome Powell says. All he needs to say, all Jerome Powell needs to say is we are committed to continuing doing everything we can do to keep this economy propped up and keep this economy afloat. And if he says that, and if he keeps it simple and doesn't complicate it, and idiot reporters are going to ask him multiple questions about what if this happens, and what if this happens, what if this happens. And I hope Jerome Powell does the right thing and says, we don't know, we're committed. What he ought to do is have a piece of paper in front of him that says we are committed to doing everything within our power to keep this economy stimulated and moving forward. And no matter what question, I mean, every reporter that wants to make a name for themselves and wants to be the most clever person in the room and wants to have the most insightful question to answer, every single one of them is going to ask an idiotic question. I guarantee it's going to happen. It would probably bore you to tears to actually watch that press conference, but once Jerome Powell is done with his prepared comments, you might find it a little bit interesting to watch some of the Q&A, if for no other reason. Listen to some of the stupidity of what people say and what people ask him. There's going to be some idiot comments made by by reporters, some idiot questions. And Jay Powell could be incredibly smart, and every question that's asked, no matter what the question, they could ask him a question about, did he have coffee that morning? And his answer should be, we are committed to doing everything we can do in our power to keep this economy propped up and stimulated and moving forward. They could ask Jay Powell what he had for dinner last night. They could ask him, they could ask him who his favorite football team is. They could ask him, do you think the NFL is coming back and playing a full season this year? Do you think Major League Baseball is coming back and playing a full season? What's your opinion on the looting and the vandalizing and the rioting that's taken place and how that's affecting the economy? Whether the questions they ask are related to the economy or not, Jay Powell would be the smartest man in the world if on Wednesday, every question he gets asked, he says, we are committed to doing everything in our power that we can do to keep this economy stimulated and propped up and moving forward. And I'll tell you, if he does that, he won't. But if he did that, I got to tell you, you'll see a 600 or 700 point move up on the Dow Jones Industrial Average on Wednesday, if that's what Jerome Powell will say. So right now, what's moving the markets is people getting back to work. What is going to move the markets later this week, whatever may happen or tomorrow, what's going to move things Wednesday beyond is going to be largely up to Jerome Powell and what he says in those Fed notes. Now, a little bit of, we always mix in on moving markets, a little bit of the political landscape and how things are, how it's impossible. And I want to make this really clear. We've been gone from our podcast for a number of months. But if you listen to our podcast when we were on previously, you know that we at Safe Option Strategies in our education, we don't get political. Me, Jeffry Dunyon, on the Moving Markets podcast, I don't mind getting political, and sometimes I feel the need to. And the purpose for me getting political has less to do with trying to persuade you or trying to convince you to be on the same page as I am politically, but it's impossible nowadays to separate what is going on politically with what's going on in the economy and how it's affecting the stock market. Although I will say, for the last couple of weeks, as the Dow and the NASDAQ and the S&P have been on this tear to the upside, it's been in spite of riots going on. It's been in spite of Black Lives Matters and Antifa and Antifa, however you're supposed to say it. In spite of that, the markets have been moving up. You would think the rioting, the looting, the things that have been going on in some of the big cities around this country would be having a really negative impact on the market, and it hasn't been the case so far. Because in spite of how pessimistic that might be, in spite of how negative that might be, it's better, or it's outweighing the negative, the fact that people are getting back to work. The unemployment numbers, the jobs numbers that came out at the end of May, that they were reported just at the end of last week, unbelievable. We were supposed to have something in the neighborhood of 8 million, a negative 8 million jobs lost, net 8 million jobs lost. We had a positive 2.9 million jobs gained, or 2.7 million jobs gained. Unbelievable difference from what was expected and what economists were predicting to what actually happened. And it's a testament to people getting back to work. People want to be working. There are a handful of people that are going to take the stimulus money and the added money to the weekly unemployment check, and they're going to use that as an excuse to not work. Thankfully, that is running out. Thankfully, that money will disappear after a period of time. If that money, if Congress screws things up, and they're capable of doing that, I wouldn't put it past Congress to completely screw it up. But if they screw it up and extend those added unemployment benefits from the national level to whatever state unemployment benefits people are getting, if they extend that beyond what it's scheduled to expire, which I believe is the end of July, they're going to screw up this economy. People need to get back to work. People need to not have an incentive to stay home. They need to have an incentive to get back to work. And I think most Americans want to get back to work. I think most people want to be working and would rather be working, even if they're making fractionally more money with the combined unemployment benefits. I think there's a lot more people than not who don't see that as a good thing, but recognize it for what it is, a temporary fix, a Band-Aid to stop the bleeding until they can get back to work. And I'm okay with that. That's what it's meant for. That's what it's good for. It's got to get, you got to get people working again, and that will continue to push these markets higher. Before the end of the month, like I mentioned earlier, we could be at all-time highs. So there's a lot to look forward to this week. There are, besides the Fed making their decision, there's not a whole lot more in the way of big economic reports that will come until the newest unemployment numbers on Thursday morning. We're looking close at those unemployment numbers every Thursday morning. We'll see what happens when we get to that. Oil is back. I'm worried about oil coming back a little bit too fast. Oil has come back, and that has also helped the stock market. Crude oil prices went above $40 a barrel, having gotten down as low as 10 or below. They've really come back up quick. And when you think about that, that's somewhere in the neighborhood of a 300-400% gain. I think they got to $10 and a penny a barrel. They've gone up 304% since getting there. So that has helped the economy. Whether you like it or not, our economy still moves a lot by oil. And so, whatever the price of oil may be, the economy moves a lot because of oil. And a lot of people don't realize that, but it is the case. And so if oil prices don't slump again the way they had, it'll be harder for us to have a big sell. The market is in a place where we could correct again a little bit. We could have another little pullback. You got to be careful of that. You got to be protected against that. But I don't expect it to happen right away. Okay, so I've got about 6 minutes left for today's podcast. For the next 6 minutes, I'm going to, I don't have the stat sheets in front of me, so I'm going to summarize some things that I have witnessed and that I've seen and that I've heard and that I've read about over the past 4 or 5 days. One of the things I'm going to start with is the defunding, the Minneapolis City Council wanting to defund their police department. And the reason I think this is relevant to what we do at Moving Markets and at Safe Option Strategies is because if this nonsense, if this idiocy, if the temper tantrum, childness, immaturity of the Minneapolis City Council spreads much beyond Minneapolis, it's already showing signs that it's spreading a little bit with the rhetoric. But the Minneapolis City Council is the one city council that I'm aware of who already has a majority on their side to defund their police department. I got to tell you, I have such mixed feelings about this. I was talking to a couple of family members yesterday about this specific topic, and I'm really torn between the number of people who live in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area who are good people, law-abiding citizens. Probably the majority of the people that live there are law-abiding citizens that mean well. They work hard every day. They're trying to raise families, or they've raised families, and they're trying to just make it to retirement or enjoy their retirement. Maybe they're getting started in life and looking forward to all of those things. And then there's probably, regardless of what their personal politics may be, there are probably some really good people there. But collectively, these people keep electing the biggest morons this country has to city and county and local offices. They keep putting in the worst of the worst in this country in terms of their insanely, I don't even want to say liberal ideas. These people go so far as to socialistic and communist ideas. And when you've got a majority of the people on your city council who actually believe it would be a good idea to defund and get rid of your police department, and not one of them can answer the question about what are you going to do? What are you going to do for the law-abiding citizens of your city that need the police? What's your answer to that? None of them have an answer to that. Because of the actions of a couple of bad police officers, they literally want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is one of the most easy to spot and easy to see logical fallacies that you'll ever be presented with. They want to just toss the whole system because of a couple of bad individuals. For anyone who cares to hear some facts, for anyone who is a believer in truth, I don't care what your politics are. And I know if your politics are ultra-liberal, this is going to be hard for you to hear. And you're going to make excuses, and you're going to say, no, that's not true. Pull your head out of the sand. I wanted to say pull it out of somewhere else, but I'm going to be more polite than that. Pull your head out of the sand. Take an objective, honest view of what's going on. If you want some facts on what is so messed up and so wrong with everything that has gone on since the death of George Floyd, okay? And I'm going to echo what the person I'm going to refer you to in just a minute here, I'm going to echo what she says. And I believe this even before I listened to her over the weekend. George Floyd should not have died in the manner that he died. I make no excuses for the police officers that do that. Like everybody else in this country, criminal history, no criminal history, first-time offender, violent offender, non-violent offender, everyone in this country who is here legally, I do not think there is any obligation on any part for the United States of America to offer due process to people who have come here illegally. But anyone who is in this country legally, no matter how heinous a crime they may have committed, no matter how soft a crime they may have committed, they deserve their day in court. They deserve justice. But they absolutely, unequivocally deserve due process. Okay? Even the cops who killed George Floyd, they deserve due process. Now, from everything I've seen so far, they look pretty guilty. I would not for one split second make any excuses or let them off the hook in any way, but give them their day in court. But here's what's going on, and here's where, if you're liberal in your politics and you just don't want to hear this, just pull your head out of the sand and listen to Candace Owens. Look for her on Facebook or Instagram, and look for Candace Owens and for the post that she put online last week, Thursday or Friday, talking about George Floyd. Candace took the time to deliver facts. She wasn't making things up. Obviously, she shared her opinion about it. She shared her opinion about where she is on things. But she gave hard, cold facts, okay? George Floyd did not deserve to die the way he did, but George Floyd was a career criminal. And no one wants to say that, and no one wants to say it out loud, and no one wants to be vilified for speaking the truth. The liberal and specifically the black community are raising up as a martyr a criminal, a multiple-time felon, a man whose adult life is riddled with a rap sheet longer than the length of both of my arms if I stretched him out. The man was a criminal. I echo what Candace said. I believe in second chances. I believe sometimes in third chances, but fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth chances, George Floyd would not have been killed by those cops had he not been caught committing a crime at the time. Again, I'm not excusing the cops. I'm not justifying what happened to him, but he would have never been there. He would have never been in a confrontation with police had he not been committing a crime at the time. So let's drop the BS, let's drop the pretense that somehow this is a noble, good citizen of this country, that this is somehow a person worthy of being lifted up as a martyr, and that he's now, is what happened worthy of some public discussion on police brutality? I don't have a problem with that on its surface, but why are you making a criminal a martyr for your cause? Pick someone who wasn't a criminal And I'm not gonna, I'm out of time, so I'm not gonna go beyond that. Take the time to listen to Candace Owens. Do a Google search and pull up the post that she put online towards the middle or end part of last week and hear her out to the end. She rants a little bit. She gets a little bit emotional at the end of it. But folks, our country is on the verge of being flipped upside down. And in some ways, it has been flipped upside down already. And our opportunity to get back to normal has to begin on recognizing what happened for what it was. A criminal was unfortunately treated wrong by the police, and those individuals, not every police department in every city across this country, those individuals need to be held accountable. Not every police officer everywhere in this country and in every city in this country. Pull your heads out. Figure that out. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. It is such a simple, logical thing that blind partisan politics can't seem to look beyond. I'm shocked a little bit that the markets have managed to stay so positive in the face of this. I hope that continues, but be careful. If those riots flare up again in a dramatic way, I'm not sure the market can handle it a second time. Look forward to being back here tomorrow with you. Thanks for tuning in, and give us some feedback. Send us some emails, send us some posts online, and let us know what you think of the presentation, and join us again tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.